Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to arrive at the Palam Air Force Station in Delhi at approximately 6:35 p.m. today. Now, he will have an official photo session followed by a private dinner hosted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is Putin's first visit to India since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war almost 4 years ago. He last visited India in December 2021. Now, PM Modi and President Putin had met earlier, if you remember, on the sidelines of the SCO Heads of State Council meeting in Tianjin, China on September 1st. And they have held 5 telephone conversations in 2025. Now, several agreements are expected to be signed during the 23rd India Russia summit, which is scheduled for Friday. The areas expected to be covered are trade, economy, healthcare, academia, culture, and media. Now, the broader goal of the visit is to shore up the bilateral, strategic, and economic partnership between the two nations against a backdrop of a sharp downturn in India's relations with the US. So, what can be the big takeaways from Putin's New Delhi visit? How would US react? Can Modi balance US amidst Putin's visit to India? All these are big questions, and how significant would be Putin's visit to New Delhi? Joining me this evening is Professor Aftab Kamal Pasha, who's an international affairs expert and diplomat. So thank you so much for joining. We have Sanjay Kapoor, who's an international affairs expert and veteran journalist. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining. And I'll begin with Professor Pasha. How do we look at the significance of this visit of Vladimir Putin to New Delhi? Coming as it does, it comes amidst the shadows of Trump's tariff. So, what can we really look forward to when it comes to his visit?
Yeah, thank you, Neelu Vyas, for hosting this show on a very important bilateral visit, as you mentioned in your intro, coming after 4 years. But both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and Vladimir Putin, have been in regular touch with each other, not only at the SCO or through telephone, but at the BRICS summit also in Kazan, if you recall. They met and there have been regular parleys, not only between the at the highest level, but also at the foreign minister, national security advisor level, and many ministers fly back and forth. So the visit is the pinnacle of the several agreements which have been discussed in detail, and they will be inked tomorrow formally in the summit. You see, the issue of Ukraine you raised, this has bedeviled the bilateral relations, which has led to pressure on both the countries. We all know the severe biting economic sanctions imposed by the EU and the United States and its Western allies, uh, whose aim was to cripple economically Russia and strangulate its economy and bring it to its knees and possibly to disintegrate using the Ukraine crisis. But that has been wishful thinking. Instead, Russia has not only withstood these severe sanctions, but it has managed to improve its economic standing and also improve its military position, not only on the ground in Ukraine, but also by selling oil to China and India and other countries, so on and so forth. Even some European countries continue to import oil and gas despite the sanctions and American pressure, so on and so forth, because they find it cheaper and easier to get Russian energy. So India also has been under tremendous pressure with the American administrations accusing India of supporting Russia and sustaining the war in Ukraine and prolonging the agony, and not only for the Ukrainians but also as a challenge to the NATO and so on and so forth. So a sort of pressure was building up. Despite our attempts to mediate in the Ukraine war, nothing came out of it. But I think now is a propitious time or right time because of sustained Russian successes on the military front, and also the meeting with Trump and Witkoff and other US envoys and other places. There is, I think, a hope that Ukraine conflict, the shadow or cloud of it, may come to an end, and it will improve bilateral relations, both Indo-Russian and Russia's isolation, sanctions. It has been a challenge for both, and continuing at the highest level, military cooperation and energy cooperation was a challenge because of the sanctions and so on and so forth on Russia. And unlike China, which has given a fitting reply to European Union and America, which has a higher bargaining capacity, we are slightly vulnerable.
Right.
So in that way, we have to take care of the sensibilities of the Europeans, the Americans, and the broader West, and also at the same time not to strengthen our bilateral relations. And I think that is the objective, and also to showcase that we tried hard to befriend America, but it is hobnobbing with our enemies like Pakistan and others, and encouraging and supporting it. With the result, now we have realized who are our real, genuine friends in need, and whom we have
Right.
to
All right.
rely upon.
All right. Sanjay, now how is America going to view this visit by Putin? And of course, the trade deal is still in the process of being finalized. And now, when Putin comes in, will this visit not irritate America to a great extent? Or they'll try and leverage or maybe balance it? How do you see things on that front?
I mean, at the face of it, US will be upset with India, primarily because they said it that they were raising a tariff on India because of India's buying oil from Russia. So they raised it to 50%. So, but you know that, and we all know that Russia and Russian Prime President Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump of US have something going at the moment, and they have a conversation going on to how to stop the war between Russia and Ukraine. Because if he manages to do that, he'll look pretty with Donald Trump's credentials to chase a Nobel Prize maybe next year. Will also get strengthened. He managed to avoid it. He didn't get it this time because it was too soon. But next year he might do that. He will once again, for the 62nd time, he would say that he stopped a war between India and Pakistan. So there are many possibilities. Besides that, Russia has been a supporter of BRICS, and US doesn't like it. The president doesn't like it. He said it very clearly at the time when he took over that he would see to the dismantling of the BRICS. He thinks it's anti-American, and primarily what they chose to highlight that was the de-dollarization, something which is very close to the heart of the Russians and even the Chinese, for that matter. It is only India that has opposed. I mean, they have always managed to convey to everybody in the world, also in the US, that their heart really lies with the US, and kind of they want to balance it, have be a balancing force between those who are opposed to it and those who are in favor of the US. So I would think that this is going to be a very important summit meeting. This is happening at the time when the conversation between Jared Kushner, Witkoff, with Putin, they found some common ground, as the newspapers reported today, and there might be some announcement that could be made from Washington about from President Trump about how he perceives the war in Ukraine. At the same time, President Putin has come here for a day and a half. There's plenty that he has to say. He has to even balance India's problems about buying oil from Russia, where now they are on sliding to a level where they don't want to be seen as coming under pressure from the US. But the truth is, they have come under pressure. One of the Indian companies which used to buy plenty of oil from Russia, Reliance, has actually begun to bring it to zero at the moment. So there is a pressure which is visible at the moment. Clearly, India doesn't want to antagonize the US. Nobody wants to do that. For them, the Chinese don't want to do it. Even the Russians don't want to do it, and especially they don't want to do it with the President Trump, who seemed to be most favorably disposed towards powers that have some card in their, at their disposal, some card that they can flaunt. So in President Trump's reckoning, India doesn't have a card at the moment, but India would like to leverage its relationship with Russia and China, maybe, to build up a case for being treated differently than what he's treating at the moment. So let's see how it plays out.
This aspect of the energy, like the buying of Russian oil, and is Modi also trying to send out a message to America as well, despite the objections from America? Of course, America didn't like the fact that India continues to buy Russian oil. But what's going to happen really on the oil front, Dr. Pasha?
See, the key to the oil front is resolution of the Ukraine conflict. Hectic parleys are going on from all sides. The Ukrainians are exhausted. The NATO is virtually divided, polarized. The Americans have been putting pressure not only on Zelensky but also working for regime change there. You see, but the adamancy of Britain, France, and Germany, who don't see a silver lining, and they want to play an upmanship game vis-a-vis America and Russia, that has become a stumbling block. But now I think America has realized that, until this Ukraine logjam is resolved, the other global problems cannot be tackled, whether it is tariff with China or the American MAGA agenda of making America great, or even Iran and Gaza and the other problems in the Middle East or West Asia. So in that way, if Prime Minister Modi can gently nudge Vladimir Putin that, look, this is the right time to negotiate and move forward on the Ukraine crisis, I think that will pave the way not only to solve Russia's problems, but also our problem. We can buy oil once the ceasefire or temporary agreement is resolved on the Ukraine issue, and we will also be less vulnerable and under less pressure from the United States, because this Ukraine crisis has become a hanging sword on our foreign policy. The longer it is sustained, the greater the damage it will do to not only bilateral relations between India and Russia, but also to America and India, and also to India and Europe. So this triangular relationship is under severe strain. So in that way, I think I hope Putin would listen to our suggestions or ideas, whatever it's worth.
Right.
But I think that is the key to our energy problem and also to our image.
But yeah, would you agree with the fact that few people saying that Putin's visit is almost like a nostalgic return to Cold War diplomacy? Do you also see any substance in this kind of perception, which some people are writing on the social media?
You see, the Cold War relationship is of a different nature altogether. That Soviet Union no more exists. It is a very different Russia now, democratic, secular, rather Orthodox Christian, and more open for debate, discussion, and relationship, not based on ideology for communism, whatever it was. It is a different Russia, and they are willing to do business with everybody, whether it is India or China or Global South or BRICS. And they are willing to stretch out their neck. They have shown what Russia is on the military front, economic front. In all areas, Russia is now far stronger, stable, and also more articulate, and it is respectful, despite all the attempts of the West to knock out Putin, Russia, its economy, its military. It has come back with vengeance. Nobody imagined 10 years ago that Russia and Putin would be as strong as they are now. Although in this achievement, China has played a crucial role. But China itself is getting fed up or exhausted with this adamancy on Ukraine from both the sides. So I think Putin realizes that there is a limit to what it can go, and wiser counsel should prevail on him, and also cut the losses, because the longer the Ukraine war goes on, the more Russian soldiers will die, and the harder it will become for the negotiating strategy which Russia has. And using such a language that we are ready for a war with Europe doesn't help the cause of peace in Ukraine or bilateral relations with Iran, because this enmity cannot be sustained. Both need each other. Europe badly needs Russian oil and gas, and Russia needs the European market. So this bilateral relations are needed, and will be useful for stability in the Eurasian area, and it will have a cascading effect on bilateral relations between India and Russia, and our relations with America and China also. So it is very important that what new Russia does for itself, which will have its impact globally and bilaterally.
Right. I was listening, Sanjay, to Rahul Gandhi today while he was speaking to the reporters in Parliament, where he said that the protocol says that whoever state dignitary is visiting India, they should ideally be meeting the leader of the opposition as well. But here he categorically put it on record that he's not allowed to meet. And in the earlier regimes, it was a norm that whoever came actually met the leader of the opposition. Now, how important that point is, because one also needs to understand that if the leader of the opposition is not meeting Putin, how can, I mean, does anything get affected by that? Because this became an issue today in Parliament. Yes, Sanjay.
I think it's very, very unfortunate that the government of India is not allowing the leader of the opposition. It would have really underlined the nature, the strength of India's democracy by opening up and allowing the opposition leader to meet the visiting dignitary. This used to be the practice earlier. I remember whenever the Chinese Prime Minister or anybody came, they made it a point of meeting Mrs. Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and Rahul and others in the others who were there in the party. But now I think there is great amount of differences between the Congress government leadership and the BJP government, especially Prime Minister Narendra Modi is most uncomfortable with the conduct of the opposition. So that is the reason why it is happening, and it's very bad for our democracy. I don't think it should have been like this. I don't think the opposition is anti-national in any way. They articulate the same point of view. On the issue of Russia, I think there is a unanimity between the opposition in India, and there is opposition and the BJP, and they don't. I don't think they would criticize what Mr. Modi is doing when it comes to welcoming Mr. Trump, Mr. Putin, and also signing all these deals. I think there is no opposition whatsoever, but it's a view which is not being held at all by the BJP government. They think that by allowing the opposition to meet President Putin, there might be some noises that will go contrary to national interests. So that's very wrong,
Right.
unsettling actually.
So my last question to you, Dr. Pasha, is that what's really at stake for India and Russia both in this New Delhi's visit, and what can we really look forward to?
You see, the most important thing is the misunderstanding, whatever might have occurred because of Ukraine war or American pressure or BRICS and de-dollarization. These should not be allowed to harm bilateral relations. The understanding is very clear. India is for an evolutionary step-by-step approach to increase the clout and cooperation of BRICS, whereas China and Russia, they want an accelerated growth of BRICS in all fields, finance, economy, trade, multi-level, multi-dimensional cooperation. So in that way, India's approach is cautious. Some would say overcautious, because you see, we have to tackle the American issue. I don't want to call that as a menace, but the way America has been using gunboat diplomacy, threatening countries, leaders left and right, we cannot afford to antagonize the United States at any level. So we have to move very cautiously, and we have to rather reassure Putin that our friendship, our relationship is solid, based on clear understanding, and we need to go forward. Because whenever we go very close to the United States, Russia is not comfortable. They cozy up with Pakistan. Whenever we go with China, with America, China creates problems in Arunachal Pradesh or the other Chinese sector. So these two countries have a method of showing their annoyance to India, either at the border level or with Pakistan or with other issues. So in that way, these small issues should not be allowed to undermine or affect bilateral relations. I think in that way, what Sanjay was saying, today it is Prime Minister Modi, tomorrow it could be a different leader. Like in Britain, the opposition party has a shadow foreign minister or prime minister. They may win the election and they will form the government. So in that way, the continuation of bilateral relations and understanding is very important. And in that way, the denial of opportunity to the opposition leader is unfortunate. And it makes a mockery of Prime Minister Modi himself, claiming that we are the largest democracy and we have solid democratic institutions wherever he goes. At home, if he behaves in a dictatorial, authoritarian way, which Putin might do because there is no opposition there. He has crushed all opposition. So we cannot put ourselves in the league of Russia and China as far as democracy or political system is concerned. We should move above and showcase that we are tolerant of opposition, and this is a healthy trend. Okay. It was a good example, even for Prime Minister Modi, to have given the respectful role of a meeting.
Right. So
Thank you.
tomorrow is going to be a crucial. Yeah. So tomorrow is going to be a crucial day. Friday is the day when all the important business level and diplomatic level meetings are lined up. So we'll have to see how the day unfolds tomorrow. But as far as the itinerary is concerned, he's arriving at New Delhi around 6:35. That's what we are told. So we'll have to see how the Putin visit goes. But the entire mainstream media is gaga over Putin's visit. So we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Dr. Pasha and Sanjay Kapoor. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.